Thanks, Alexi. I'm really just building my presentation as kind of the introduction to Stephen's presentation, where he's going to be talking about the real future of digital cameras. I'm going to give a snapshot of what's happening now. I'm going to be talking very fast and very loudly because all of our hearing is damaged. We're going to look at digital cameras, their sales, the models, some of the newest technologies, and what new markets the imaging industry is going into. First off, how are camera sales doing? Well, obviously not that great, although not as bad as you might have expected. 2008, of course, was kind of a great year for camera sales all around. We have sales figures from the Camera and Imaging Products Association of Japan showing that overall in 2008, sales were up almost 20%. Of course, even at the end of 2008, they were not expecting 2009 to be quite as good. And then in April, CEPA released figures showing that they were lowering their production down almost 30% this year. And some more recent figures show that where sales are going down anywhere from 6 to 8% all around so far in terms of the tallies for 2009. But looking overall at the projected sales for the end of the year, and our conclusion is that coming down from a high of about a little over 28 million in 2007, and we're going to be going to almost 26 million this year. That's not that bad a drop, considering, of course, the state of the world economy, and also considering the fact that just about everybody has a camera. It's like right now, it's 73% of U.S. households. By the end of the year, we're projecting that's going to be almost 77% of U.S. households have a camera in hand. And there's other aspects, of course, affecting the sales of digital cameras. Most of them were brought up by Tony yesterday in terms of the increasing quality of camera phones, and also just the fact that if you bought a digital camera in the last year or two, they're getting really good. So we're kind of going off that upgrade cycle where every year the cameras were so much better. If you got a camera, it's probably really good, and the latest models aren't giving you a great reason to run to the store. That said, let's look at some of the newest models and what are the good features that are causing new sales. In compact cameras, resolution is about 12 megapixels across the board. What we are seeing good improvements in is optics, where it used to be that everything priced under $400 had the ubiquitous 3x optical zoom. Now most pocket cameras are getting 5x zooms. And what's really good is where once wide angles were very rare, now we're seeing 25 millimeter wide angles in a lot of pocket-sized cameras. A good example came from Olympus, where they announced 4 pocket-sized 12 megapixel cameras. One of those cameras had a 5x optical zoom, and it was only $100. That's a range of features that you couldn't have expected anywhere near that price just a few years ago. The mid-range is always highlighted by long-range optical zooms. These are now going up to 24x, as shown by this Samsung model. Also, it's interesting to note that in the mid-range, long aimed at the enthusiasts, as people talked about yesterday, Canon got a lot of attention by getting its latest G model and lowering the resolution, showing that the resolution isn't what really matters there. People want better pixels, not more pixels. In the SLRs, however, resolution, that race does continue quite a bit, but so does really high ISO. And Nikon's latest SLRs, they're saying it's not just 400 ISO, but 102,400 ISO, which they say opens up new possibilities in low-light photography. Also, most SLR models are now capturing video, and both 720 and 1080p HD video. And what's interesting here is these camera makers are billing their models as competitive with the latest Hollywood movie making equipment. They're talking about their selectable frame rates and saying that they open new doors for multimedia journalists and Hollywood cinematographers alike. What's really shaking up, I think, the SLR market is the Micro Four Thirds cameras. They don't have mirrors. They're much smaller. They still deliver great image quality, and they deliver the capability for interchangeable lenses that a lot of people like. It's exemplified here by this latest model from Panasonic, built as the smallest interchangeable lens system with a flash built into it. And it's also worth noting that this one also captures video at 720p, not 1080p, but you can even adjust the depth of field on this camera while you're shooting video. Now, the high-range model is exemplified by this rangefinder from Leica. It's built as the smallest full-frame camera ever with a 24 by 36 millimeter 18 megapixel sensor, custom made for this camera by Kodak. Of course, this kind of camera will run you $7,000. And if you want lots of megapixels, Mamiya is offering 56 megapixels, and this is a sensor with custom matched to its optics. Of course, this kind of one will cost you over $30,000. Now with all these cameras, camera phones, SLRs all capturing video, what is there left for the standalone pocket camcorders? Well, two things were noteworthy this year. One, Cisco bought the Pure Digital company both for the flip camcorders and also for the sharing software that a lot of people are liking. What's interesting here is that Flip has come out with their newest, sleekest model. It holds 2 gigabytes of 720p video on a little pocket-sized camera. 2 hours on 8 gigabytes of HD video that will fit in your pocket. The other big news in pocket camcorders this year is Apple adding video to the iPod. And this isn't noteworthy not just because it's Apple in a way getting back into the camera market, but because millions of people are still buying iPods. And the thought here is that nobody who wanted to go buy a camera is going to buy an iPod instead. But if millions of people get an iPod with the video features already built into it, some percentage of those people are not going to want to buy a separate standalone video or camera product because their iPod already delivers what they want. That said, there is new technology in cameras that is prompting better sales. This is what is shipping right now in a lot of features, in a lot of models. The best one is the Smart Auto Mode. We've been saying for years that there's nothing worse than after an event, you look at your photos and they're really lousy, and somebody who knows photography says, hey, your camera could have gotten a great picture if only you knew the secret combination of functions and buttons to make it do that. Nowadays, finally, the cameras are doing that work for you. You aim your camera at any scene, the camera will detect if it's low light, if you're close to somebody, if you're far away, and it will decide the best features to deliver to you the kind of picture that you always thought you were paying for in the first place. So like I said, this is a feature that's out in cameras now. First brought to market, I think, by Panasonic, but just in less than a year, most companies are offering this in at least part of their compact camera line. Also interesting is facial recognition. Facial detection, just a little less than 2 years ago, became ubiquitous. Facial detection just said, oh, we recognize there's a human face. We'll focus and expose on that, not everything else that's in that picture. That was a great improvement. Facial recognition takes that a step further by saying, okay, there's a crowd of people there, but there's your wife and there's your daughter. We're going to focus on those people, not the stranger who's actually standing closest to the camera. So not only do you get a picture that's well exposed for human faces, it's a picture that recognizes who you're probably taking that picture of. And facial recognition goes a step further by once you put in your wife's name and your daughter's name, it will put those names on every photo you take of those people in the future, making it much easier to find those photos going forward. Also, an important improvement in cameras these days is better light sensitivity. And examples of this are Fuji with its EXR technology. The sensor has switchable pixels, and they say this lets it adjust the pixels to exactly what you're shooting so you can get wider dynamic range. And also, like Sony has its backlit CMOS sensors, which they say doubles the sensitivity as compared to previous models. There's other new avenues that the imaging industry is getting into. One of the most obvious is helmet cameras. These are interesting because often you're out doing something when you want to take a picture, and you got to stop what you're doing, fish in your pocket to get that camera out, and then the moment's gone. These are nice because if you're out in the action, you're doing something, the camera is always recording everything, 135 millimeter field of view. And what's interesting to note here is this company just a few months ago shifted from standard definition video to HD, 1080p HD, in the little helmet-sized camera, and their sales quadrupled as soon as they did that. And there's a small company looking at selling 50,000 units this year. Also growing a lot is surveillance technology. That's no surprise, but the numbers kind of are. IDC is saying that surveillance cameras will go from a little over 9 million just 2 years ago to more than 26 million very quickly in 2013. And companies such as Sanyo has video technology that they put into their Exactly consumer cameras, and now they're finding that same technology is letting them get ahead in the surveillance business as well. Another good example where the imaging industry is going is automotive. Camera sensor makers are trying to get everywhere in there. A good example here is Altec, a leading maker of phones and camera modules, and they've got a design that puts multiple cameras around the car. The cameras are pointing in every direction. The driver is just looking at one screen that synthesizes a 360-degree view from all those cameras. And I think, a few short years ago, no one would have predicted that your car will have more cameras than you do.